What's up, everybody, and welcome back to round 14 of Inside the Clinch. My name is Johnny, and I'm joined, as always, with my partner, Eric. What's up, Eric?
Hey Johnny, how are you?
I'm doing great. We're coming off a pretty crazy weekend. We had UFC Vegas 18, which we're going to get into, and we had the Super Bowl, Tom Brady winning another one. What did you think of the
Yeah, don't
game last
forget we
night?
had BKFC as well, so we'll touch
Oh,
on that
yeah.
briefly later.
Almost forgot about that. But what did you think of the Super Bowl?
Yeah, the Super Bowl, wasn't as competitive as some people I think would have liked it to be, but I mean it was an entertaining game, I was in, but Brady is the king and I don't think many can as much as people want to see him lose, I don't think that man is going to be losing.
Yeah, at his age, he's just aging like fine wine, as they like to say. I feel like the Kansas City just didn't put up a fight. I just like you, I don't really watch football regularly, but just watching this game, it looked like Kansas City kind of like froze up and like got a little shook in the moment. And Tom Brady just did it again. So it was a great night. It was a great weekend. But yeah, let's get into some fights. So we had Alistair Overeem versus Volkov at UFC Vegas 18 in Las Vegas. What were your thoughts on the fight?
So Overeem unfortunately got another TKO stoppage. Got stopped by another TKO, I should say. You and I were both really rooting for him coming into this fight. During fight week, we looked at the weigh-ins. At least I saw Volkov look super thick at the weigh-ins, much thicker than he's been in prior fights, and I thought that would mean Volkov would come in super slow. But on the contrary, I don't think his speed diminished at all. But we definitely saw a significant, I think, power increase in Volkov. From the start of the fight, I mean, it was pretty one sided. He kind of did what he wanted to do with Overeem. Overeem wasn't really able to do much with the strikes. He kind of half-assed attempted a few takedowns, wasn't really able to close the distance there. I was hoping, Overeem was gonna pull some kind of card out of his sleeve or something, to at least do something. You know what I mean? Not just completely lose a one-sided fight. But yeah, unfortunately, Volkov, just did what he wanted to do with him.
Yeah, as you said, Volkov from the get go, he was able to do anything he wanted. Like I was rooting for Overeem as well, but as soon as the fight started, it was just like evident to see who the better fighter was at that time. If this fight was done maybe like 5, 7 years ago, I think it would have been the outcome would have been a little different.
Let me ask
But
you though,
Overeem just
Do you think Overeem was overwhelmed or I guess intimidated by Volkov's size? Do you think it was the size that threw him off?
I don't know if it was the size. I think it's the size, the strength, just uh, Overeem also deteriorating, him not being as fast, him not being as athletic anymore. Just look at his body now in comparison to what he used to look like when he was like on steroids or whatever.
Yeah, but that's
Like,
USADA cleaning up everybody.
yeah, but it looks like the age caught out to him. He did win. To give him credit, he won 4 of his last 5. He should technically be on a 5 fight winning streak. That fight to Jairzinho Rosenstruck. He got caught in the end. It was a controversial referee stoppage. So he was doing pretty well before this. But Volkov, as you mentioned, he gained some weight. It looks like he gained some muscle. He weighed in at 264 this fight, right?
Yep,
So
the highest he's
he
ever weighed in.
yeah, so he looked bigger. His striking looked phenomenal. He landed 54 out of his 88 significant strikes, where Overeem only landed around 10. As you said, I thought the key to victory for Overeem was the takedowns, but those weren't successful at all. And in the case of Volkov, I feel like in this heavyweight division, if you don't have elite wrestling, fighting him is going to be a very long night for you because he's just so long. He's technical and he's powerful. So he's a problem, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do. And he's also young. He's 32 years old. So
Yeah,
let's
I
see.
mean he's in
Let's
his
see what the
athletic prime pretty much. So
yes. Let's see what the Drago could do.
yeah, I mean, so what's next for Drago then?
What's next for Drago? So this is my opinion. So we had the fight with Rosenstruck and Cyril Gahn on February 27th. I feel like he should win. He should fight the winner of that fight, and then if he were to win that fight, then give him the title shot because as at this time, I don't think he's ready for the not that he's not ready for the title shot.
The
I
title's not
don't
ready
think
for him.
the title's not ready exactly. He has that loss to Lewis. That was 2 fights ago. So I feel like he needs maybe one more fight, and then we could talk about the title for him. But phenomenal performance on his end.
Yeah, I agree. That fight makes the winner of Cyril Gane versus Jairzinho Rosenstrike. I think the winner of that definitely makes a lot of sense. I think the winner of both of those fights, I think both of them are one fight away from getting to the title shot. So I think that makes perfect sense. If for whatever reason Volkov isn't able to get that fight or doesn't want to take that fight, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to the Derek Lewis fight. I mean, both of them have had several wins since then, and it kind of seems like their paths have crossed again at the top, assuming Derek Lewis beats Curtis Blades in a couple of weeks. So I think Volkov may want to try to avenge that loss. You know, that was a fight that he was dominating 3.5 rounds and kind of just got caught at the end. Um, but I
Well,
mean,
first of all, Derek Lewis is not going to beat Curtis Blades. That's not going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen because I'll tell you why. Because when Curtis Blades fought Daniel Cormier, what did Daniel Cormier do to him? He wrestled him the entire fight, and that's exactly what Curtis Blades is going to do, just as he did with Volkov. And Curtis Lewis is not really well versed in the wrestling department, so I feel like that's going to be. I could say like I'm like 95% sure that Curtis Blades is going to win that fight just because of his wrestling. But
yeah, I
yeah,
agree with you there for sure.
so what's next for the legend, Alistair Overeem? After that TKO loss, he has a bunch of them now piled up. What do you think the next move for him is?
Yeah, man. I
The
mean,
correct move.
he has a few fights left under his contract right now. I believe it's 3 or 4, if I'm not mistaken. I do see, to me as a fan, it looks like Alistair still does have the passion to fight, whether or not it's for the title or not. He did say this was his last title run. So I don't think we're going to be able to see Alistair get back up to the top. We've kind of seen time and time again, he gets close to the top, within just a couple of rankings of getting a title shot, and then he kind of gets that slip and slides down the division again. As we were saying in our last podcast, Alistair Overeem is one of the greatest MMA fighters of all time that never were able to hold a UFC belt, which is really unfortunate. But it looks like that's the dark reality at this point. I mean, I'm not super opposed to him retiring, but at the same time, like I said, if he still has the passion to fight, and if the UFC can rank him with some mid-level guys, not necessarily the top dogs, I feel like he still has some fight in him, and there's still plenty of people, even ranked in the top 10, that I feel like Alistair can beat. So I think it's pretty much up to him. If he still has the passion, I would love to see him step in the octagon a couple more times. But if this is where he cuts off his fighting career, I mean, over 60 MMA fights, almost 80, including his kickboxing fights. The guy's had an amazing career.
Yeah, I think that my personal take on his career is if Dana White allows him to be released from the contract, I think he should take it because he's already talking about what his objective with this fight was. He wanted to win this fight and then he wanted to fight for the title. That's not going to happen anymore. So I feel like Dana White would release him from his contract because like looking at Overeem's last few losses. So he lost to Jairzinho Rosenstruck via
That's a
KO. He lost.
controversial. That's a controversial.
Yeah, but still, he still was
He
damaged in
didn't
that
get
fight.
knocked out. He didn't get knocked out though. That's
Okay,
not a
but he
KO.
got okay, but he got hit bad,
Yeah.
and it probably it hurt him. It was a bad hit. He got TKO'd by Curtis Blades. He got brutally knocked out by Francis Ngannou. He got knocked out by Stipe Miocic. Um, he got knocked out by Ben Rothwell. So he has so many knockouts in his. He's been knocked out so many times in his career, and he's not really a young fighter anymore. And he's accomplished so much thus far in his career as a kickboxer, in Strikeforce, and the other promotions that he was champion, and he was champion in several promotions.
Yep.
So I feel like at this point he has really nothing left to prove. All he's gonna do is just he's gonna damage himself. He's gonna damage his body. So I feel like and he's already talking about doing other things after fighting. So if he's already talking about it, as Dana says, if you're talking about retirement, then you should retire. So I think it's time for him to pack his bags and head back to wherever he's from,
Netherlands.
the Netherlands. Yeah.
So one thing I would actually love to see from Overeem. I don't think he may be interested, but I think as a commentator or one of the guys at the panel during the fights, I think he would do great. I mean, he's very well versed in the fight game. He has very high fight IQ, and I mean he speaks very well. Like for someone that's gotten knocked out as many times as he did, he does not have any speech issues or any slurring or anything like that.
But he does do this though. He goes like that a lot. He
I
does
mean,
do that. He's not from here, so
Yeah, I mean his English is good, and I feel like he's pretty educated. I feel like he'd be interesting next to like Michael Bisping and John Anik on a broadcast or something.
Maybe either that or maybe do some coaching, do something outside, do some promotional work. I don't know. Or I don't know, maybe he has another hobby that he wants to take on now that his fighting career is coming to an end. But it's been an honor watching him. If this is the end of the road for him, it was honestly amazing watching his career.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on to the co-main event of the evening.
Another
For
legend down.
another legend down, unfortunately. Yeah, Frankie Edgar um, got stopped though. Cory Sandhagen landed a beautiful flying knee 30 seconds into the first round. Frankie got knocked out flat. You know, he stiffened up at first. He was shaking a little bit. Um, it was a very, very scary sight to see. Everyone in the arena, we just heard them completely quiet on the broadcast. Everyone was just super concerned for Frankie, but unfortunately, he's all right. You know, he was able to stand back up after a couple of minutes. You know, they did. He got himself back together. It was devastating to see, but he's all right. This was the second fastest flying knee knockout in UFC history. The first one was from super necessary Jorge Masvidal. So Cory Sandhagen is in second place. So John, what were your opinions on that fight?
Yeah, so with Frankie Edgar, what a way to lose. That was really painful to watch. But he seemed okay after the fight. When they were giving the decision, he was present there. You know, when they were raising the hands, he was there, so he was ready. He was ready, okay. And then today, he released a statement basically saying how this is the fight game and how it's like a cruel fight game. So he's I guess he's okay with the situation. But Cory Sandhagen, as you mentioned, 30-second flying knee, second fastest in history in terms of flying knee. And this is his second viral knockout. His other viral knockout being to Marlon Moraes with the spinning wheel hook. So from what I recall, I don't remember anyone having two viral knockouts back to back. And the way he's doing it, coming off a loss to Sterling, he's making a statement in the division.
Yeah, I mean, Corey Sandhagen was on a huge streak right before that fight with Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain Sterling was able to, very quickly take the back of Corey Sandhagen and put him to sleep within, I think it was like around a minute in the first round or something like that. But prior to that, Corey Sandhagen, was on a crazy roll. He did have some nice, amazing knockouts. But I do think that Aljamain, I mean, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say Aljamain got lucky or anything because, there's always a level of technique and strategy that was used to set up that game plan. But I feel like that fight would go completely different if Corey and Aljo were to have a rematch.
Rematch. Well,
Yes.
what Corey is saying now is that he's basically saying that he learned the lesson from his fight with Sterling, and if they were to fight again, he's saying that he's gonna hurt him, whatever that's supposed to mean. But I don't know. I don't know if I would go with Sandhagen in the rematch because Sterling is a well-decorated wrestler, so I feel like he will have the advantage there. But a great match. But what do you want to see next for Sterling? Because I mean, for Sandhagen, because Sterling is currently booked with Jan. So where does that put Sandhagen?
Yeah, I mean, looking at the division, there really doesn't make any other sense for him. Anything else other than the title fight. If Sanhagen is just looking for a big name, I think he can maybe try to call out Cody Garbrandt. But I don't think
Cody
realistic.
Garbrandt I think he has a fight scheduled.
Okay, so then I mean, that's not even a fight I'm super excited about anyway. I think that would just be a big name for Corey to get under his resume.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well. I'm saying I think he should wait for the
The winner
winner
of the title
of
fight.
Jan and Sterling. But if he doesn't want to do that, if he wants to stay active, there are a few other names. T.J. Dillashaw being one, he's coming back, big name.
Yeah, but I
I
don't
think
think
one of
TJ.
the biggest names in the division.
Yes, but I don't think TJ deserves to be right back that close to the title contention after being popped for PDs. Give TJ two or
You,
three fights to get back to title contention after being popped for PDs.
you always talk about this deserve shit. There's no deserve.
Yeah,
T.J.
I mean,
Dillashaw has a huge
yeah,
name
but he's also
in
a
the
cheater.
UFC.
He's also a cheater.
Okay, so what? There's a lot of cheaters in the UFC, and they
Okay,
get
so they should go to the bottom of the line and make their way back up.
but that's not okay. But that's not going to happen.
That's what
They're not
should.
going to give T.J. Dillashaw nobody to fight.
I'm not
They're going
saying
to give him
nobody, but I
somebody.
don't think they should give him the number one contender for the belt right now either.
It's probably what is going to happen. I feel like he's going to get a top five. Okay, so if not
I just
TJ,
saying TJ doesn't deserve it.
okay, I'm talking about exciting fights. So TJ Dillashaw being one name that's available right now. Jose Aldo being another name that's available. Jose Aldo's coming off a win to over Chito Vera via decision. So I feel like that's another name that
Again, I don't
is.
think Aldo deserves to fight that high up in the rankings. I'm just feel
I'm,
like Cory Sandhagen has put himself so far ahead of the rest of the division. Like it doesn't make sense for him to fight any of these other guys to risk his spot in the contention line for a title fight. I feel like he's right there. He deserves the next shot.
I believe the best move for him is to wait, but these fights would definitely be exciting as well. So let me ask you. So you would pick you would pick Cory Sandhagen in the rematch with Sterling. You said. What about? Well, that's what you're leaning towards right
I'm
now,
leaning
right?
towards that. Yeah, I'm not
Okay.
100%.
So what about your boy Jan
Oh,
and Sandhagen?
Jan and Sandhagen. I think Jan is gonna. That's gonna be a very interesting striking match. But
What a
I don't
good
know.
fight.
I'm a big fan of Jan. I love his the way he moves, the way he strikes. His power for his size is just phenomenal.
He's fast.
I mean, they're but you can say the same about Sandhagen, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is gonna be if hopefully we do see Jan and Peter Yan next. I think it's a super exciting fight.
Okay, so where does that put the legend Frankie Edgar? Does he retire? What does he do?
I personally hate to tell fighters to retire. I feel like even if I would rather watch a legend fight low ranked fighters, still be in the game than not fight. But seeing Frankie's career as of late, I don't want to see him continue to take the beatings that he's taking. I mean, he's losing some fights and not just losing them, but losing them badly, like we saw this weekend. For someone that's done so much for the sport and for the UFC brand, I feel like he doesn't need to continue doing that anymore. I feel like he's done enough in his career. He was a champion. He's been a devastating force. Every division he's fought across multiple weight divisions. And, he's almost always the smaller guy in the fights. And he still not only almost beats almost all of them, but just puts on an amazing fight every time. And, yeah, I don't want to see Frankie Edgar continue to take punishment. So I kind of want to see him hang it up.
I want to see it hang it up as well. I mean, like after witnessing that, just like imagine something worse came out of that. Like thankfully nothing really bad happened, but like I don't really want to see him go through that again. With him, there's really no future for him. Just the same thing with a similar thing to Overeem. There's really no future for him in the division as well. The division is stacked. It's Piotr Jan, Sterling, Sandhagen, and TJ Dillashaw's coming back. It's a bunch of killers. And I'm not saying maybe if he wishes to continue fighting, I think he should fight maybe someone out of the top five, maybe someone in the top 10, maybe someone from the 5 to 10 range. But I don't think he really belongs with the top five in the division anymore. He has a few losses. His last few losses came to Korean Zombie, to Max Holloway, and to Ortega. So all those fighters are killers. So I feel like he's still a competitor. He's still gonna give you a fight for most of the people in the division. But if you put him against the top dogs, I feel like he just doesn't belong there at this point in his career. And I don't really want to see him go through the punishment anymore. I feel like that knockout solidified it for me. I think he just should like think about really consider retiring.
Yeah, what's the best case scenario if he continues fighting? You know what I mean? He's not going to make it to the top title contention in any weight class at this point. First of all, it's going to take too long. Second of all, the level of competition has just gotten so much better since last time he was, that high up in any rankings.
Yeah, the thing is that if he wants to make some money, if money is the issue for him, I would suggest he fights someone lower ranked, someone with less experience, less explosive, less someone that doesn't really have the ability to do that to him. It was a bad matchup. I thought it was a bad matchup to begin with, but yeah, I agree. I want to see Edgar hang it up as well. All right, so also I want to give out some shout outs. So Clay Guida won via decision.
Congrats,
We
Clay.
had we had Michael Johnson in that fight, but Clay Guida was able to wrestle him throughout the fight. He was able to like basically impose his will on him. Also, shout out to Banil Dariush. He won Diego Ferreira. I
Yep.
believe he's on a 6 fight winning streak. And also the fighter from Dagestan, Timur Valiev. I'm not sure if you caught that fight, but it's another prospect coming out of Dagestan. Just a dominant performance on his end, and I believe he's undefeated. So someone to look out for as well in that fight. That fighter.
Yeah, man. We had a stacked weekend. Saturday was full of great fights. And the Friday, the day before, we actually had BKFC. Paige Vanzant made her bare knuckle debut against Britain Hart. Very heated weigh-ins on Thursday night. We saw the two girls get into each other's face. Paige Vanzant grabbed Hart's throat. They got a little shoving, pushing action going on.
Very cringeworthy. Yeah.
Talking. Yeah, it's pretty cringy. But yeah, you and I, we watched BKFC together on Friday. BKFC is an interesting organization. It's not the same as the other sports. There were some not as entertaining fights, and there were some crazy knockouts also throughout that fight card. What'd you think of the event overall?
I thought the event was. It's nothing comparable to like the UFC or even I would say to Bellator. Just everything. The commentators, like the whole promotion is just a little weird. The fighters look a little cuckoo, most of them for the most part, which is why Paige Vanzant didn't really look like she belonged. But in the case of Paige Vanzant, it's exactly what we thought was going to happen. Like I'll give her this. I thought Paige Vanzant, she looked good. She looked like if you look at her, she looks like she knows how to box, but like none of her strikes were effective in any way. She looked like she had a nice stance. She looked like she could throw a punch, but none of her strikes, as I said, were effective at all. And like at no point in that fight did I think that Paige Vanzant was going to win.
Yeah, we both expect her not to do well. She did surprisingly turn it up at the end of the fight. She did seem to do well the end of the last round, pretty much the second half of the last round. She was kind of turning it up a little bit, but not enough to win the fight. Look, do you think she has potential? Would you watch her second fight in BKFC if it'd be
Would I
soon?
watch?
Yeah, would you watch it?
Yeah, I'll watch it because just because of her name, not because she's good. Like she's literally not a good fighter. I'm not saying this to be mean to her. She's just literally not really good anywhere, and we saw that on Thursday night, right? What was it, Thursday night?
Friday night.
Friday night.
Yeah, I would watch it too. Like I said, there were some interesting fights in BKFC. Overall, though, I feel like a lot of the organization overall was kind of cringy. I feel like some of the things the commentators were saying, the way they were saying it, kind of just the brand overall. I don't know if to say it's like a knockoff of like another MMA brand, but it just not entertaining. I thought it was kind of cheesy the way they put together a lot of the things for the organization.
Yeah, but let's talk about Chris Leben.
Whew,
His
yeah.
retirement fight. The former UFC fighter. He fought Anderson Silva in his debut, and this was his last fight as a mixed martial artist / boxer. What did you think of his performance?
Yeah, he did well. His opponent was a little weird. He took a
They're all
fist to
weird.
the eye. Shit happens. It wasn't an eye poke. He thought it was an eye poke, but it looked like the knuckle or the hand wrap must have gone into his eye. But he started yelling and screaming that he couldn't see. And first of all, if you ever yell like that in an MMA fight, I'm pretty sure you're automatically just disqualified and the fight's over. But he was really upset that he couldn't see, and they continued to fight, and Chris Leben just knocked the dude the hell out. And what a way to wrap up a career, right?
Yeah, a great way. He said that if he had gloves, he would leave them in the ring, but it's bare knuckles. But yeah, people in bare knuckles are pretty weird. What about what was her name? Brittany Hart.
Britain Hart, yeah.
Brittany Hart. What was that post fight interview?
I see
I'm not a person. I'm a feeling, and I'm gonna make your. What did she say? I'm gonna make you guys all feel it.
Yeah, something along those lines. I don't know. I saw a lot of people reposting that over the last couple of days, kind of using it as inspiration and whatever the fuck. I don't know. I thought that was cringy as hell. That whole post-fight interview was mad weird. She was just saying weird shit like that, and then
So strange.
some girl
So
came
strange.
over and dumped a bottle of water on her like head. Like I said, this whole promotion was weird. Where have you ever seen that before? Like,
Yeah, it's a
I
weird
don't know.
promotion. So what does Paige do now? Does she continue to fight in bare knuckle, or does she
Well, she has a
transition?
multi-fight contract as far as I'm concerned, so she is gonna have to fight a couple more times at least.
I want to
But
say
yeah,
I
look,
want
she
to.
didn't get demolished. She did look like she could belong there. Like she didn't look out of place. Her striking could develop. Maybe there are a couple of girls there she could beat. I think she should give it another try. I don't think it'll hurt.
she didn't look like she was out of place, but she didn't look like she was in place either. Like she wasn't doing. She looked good. If you look at her, she looked like she was striking accurately, but like she wasn't really effective anywhere. And I feel like she would do better off in MMA, but even in MMA, I don't think she's gonna be. She wasn't successful in MMA, and I don't think she's gonna be successful in MMA going forward either. So, I mean, I'm gonna watch Paige Vanzant because it's Paige Vanzant, but in terms of her MMA career, in terms of her boxing career, I think she should. Well, I'm not gonna tell her what to do, but as a fan, I could say that she's not really an entertaining fighter. And also, she just started her Paige Vanzant. I don't know if it's an OnlyFans or her website, but she started something recently. So she's listening to the fans, and she started her own little page. So good for her.
I'm pretty confident she can make more money doing that than the fighting.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, so her website, it's like paigevanzant.com, something like that.
You
And it's
subscribed already?
Nah, I didn't. But I was going through the comments and people were like saying, "Is this actually worth subscribing to?" And everyone was like, "Nah, just fucking go on Reddit and watch it through there." But yeah, I feel like she could make a lot more money modeling and doing things like that, and she looks like she's into it too. So why not?
Yeah, why not? So yeah, man, we had a great weekend. We had BKFC Friday, we had UFC on Saturday, we had the Super Bowl on Sunday. Packed weekend. We got another great card coming this weekend, so we'll get to that in just a minute.
No more Mr. Nice Guy. Hart Conor McGregor is back.
Is he back? Have we heard this too many times? I don't know. What's happening? What do you think is going on here?
Well, I think he's going to be back in terms of he's going to be back being the old Conor McGregor, just being that arrogant asshole Conor McGregor that we're accustomed to seeing, which I'm excited for. But in terms of him being back to the double champ type of Conor McGregor, I don't know if he's going to be able to do that, but I'm excited to see the Conor of the old, that arrogant Conor that doesn't really give a shit about anybody. It's entertaining to watch for sure.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think he's going to be that same level of angry for two reasons. One, Connor got enough lawsuits right now. Two, he's a dad now. So I feel like those two things happen around the same time. I feel like the maturity as a father kind of got him less aggressive and less angry. And then also, just the legal repercussions of his actions kind of been catching up to him. Even when he's in there, like, for example, like last year, there was some fan came up to him in a hotel in Miami with like a phone in his hand after Connor told him to get out of his face. The guy still had his phone in his face. Connor took it and threw it on the floor. He got a lawsuit for it. So, even when Connor's not necessarily in the wrong, he's catching a lawsuit. So
I don't
feel like,
well, I don't think he means he's gonna do those types of things. I feel like he's just not gonna be like, oh yes, good man. I feel like he's just not gonna be that type of Conor anymore.
are the press conferences going to be like the old days?
I hope so. I mean, these press conferences have been so boring and so weird to watch.
And just patting Connor on the back, and
I
don't
feel
want
like
that
now
shit talking.
everyone, like the big media analysts, are saying that Conor McGregor is like Chael Sonnen. Others are saying that Conor McGregor is basically, he fell off, right? So I feel like Conor McGregor wants that shine back on him, and like people don't count him as an elite fighter in the division anymore. So I feel like he has something to prove, and he's gonna go back to his old ways that made him the successful person that he is, the successful fighter and the businessman that he is today. So
Yeah.
let's see how that works out for him. But
Look, man, my only problem with that is I feel like we've heard that before. So at this point, at least me, I'm a need to see it to believe it kind of guy. You know what I mean?
yeah, so today also in terms of Conor McGregor, it was reported that by Ariel Helwani that they're trying to make a fight between him and Dustin Poirier for the third time. So that's the fight that the UFC is trying to organize as of right now, not the
I'm
Nate
for the
Diaz
fight.
trilogy.
I'm for that fight. I think it makes a lot of sense. I just really hope it's not for the belt because I don't think Conor deserves to be in there. I don't think it's fair to the rest of the division. It's one of the stacked divisions right now, and he's 1-2 in the UFC. He hasn't won in the lightweight since 16. I don't think Conor deserves. Dustin deserves. I don't think Conor deserves to get a title shot.
Okay, you're talking about this fair thing again. Yes, Dustin does deserve it. So does Charles Oliveira. Those two fighters are the ones that actually deserve it. They should be fighting for the title next.
Yeah, so I said I'm
But
all for the Dustin
once,
and Conor fight. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it's a great fight for the fans, but I do not think that it should be for the title.
so you think it should be just like a regular fight?
Yeah, main event, pay-per-view, whatever. It's a big fight. It's a good fight. It's the fight to make, but I don't think it should be for the
But
belt.
do you
For the
think?
lightweight
But do
belt.
you think Dustin Poirier is gonna be down for that?
I mean, it's 1-1. He looks like he's looking a little. Everyone's saying that he's better than Conor now, right? I mean, if they would fight so close to the second fight, shouldn't he still be better than Conor? You know what I mean? It's not like there's years apart like the first fight was. If they rebook this fight immediately, I mean, assuming Dustin is still better, Dustin
Yeah,
should his ego,
he
his
should win.
confidence should be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the only thing is that because Dustin Poirier, he's been saying that he wants the title. That's his like number one goal is to be the UFC champion. So
Yeah.
if
So is
this
every
fight
UFC
is
fighter.
so if this fight is not going to be for the title, then I don't know what incentive aside from the money Dustin Poirier is going to have to
I
take
think
this
the
fight
winner
with
of
Conor
this
McGregor.
fight should fight either Oliveira or whoever Oliveira's fight. I think that I don't know. First
What
of all,
about Michael?
to be fair, I
Go
feel
ahead.
like Khabib needs to clarify where the hell he's standing on the title.
Khabib clarified this like 100
So why
times.
I don't know why Dana's putting
Dana
words in his
is
mouth, twisting the word. I don't know what's happening. Dana just announced Khabib is not
Khabib clearly said that he's retired,
put
and he
the
said
put the
it.
belt around Oliveira.
Yeah, yeah. What about Michael Chandler? Where does that put him? You saw who he was hanging out over Super Bowl with, right?
Theo Von. Yeah, look like he
Theo
had a
Von.
party happening over there, huh?
Did you
They had
did you see the clip of when they had Dustin Poirier's hot sauce where Theo Von whips it out and and then Michael Chandler takes it and throws it into the garbage and then he comes back, takes it out from the garbage and puts it on his dinner. You
He
saw
said it
that?
was pretty good. I don't know. I'm not a spicy kind of guy, so I don't know if I'll be trying Dustin's hot sauce. But from what everyone's saying, it's not that bad.
Yeah, I mean Michael Chandler looks like he knows how to market himself. Like he looks like everyone at this point likes him. Um, I believe the hype train is gonna die down a little bit. He's just coming off an impressive win over Dan Hooker with that KO knockout. But we all know who Michael Chandler is. He's a great fighter, but I don't think he's has what it takes to be the UFC champion still, even after that viral knockout.
I think he has what it takes, but I think we need to see him in the octagon at least one or two more times before we give him that opportunity.
I agree. I agree.
So, John, this weekend we have another stacked UFC event, UFC 258. We have Kamaru Usman taking on Gilbert Burns for the welterweight title in the UFC. These two were former teammates, a couple months back. They parted ways last year when they were supposed to fight each other. They were both training together, and Kamaru Usman left the gym. I think he went over to Trevor Whitman, if I'm not mistaken. And so Gilbert Burns stayed with the home team. This is really interesting matchup. How do you see this one going, man?
Yeah, so as you said, they're teammates, so they probably know how they probably know in the locker room who the better fighter is. So I guess we're gonna find that out on Saturday night. But in terms of Kamaru Usman, the guy is a stud. He's on a 16 fight winning streak, which ties him, I believe, with George St. Pierre's winning streak in welterweight. His last three fights were against Masvidal, against Colby Covington, which he won via TKO, I believe, in the fourth, broke Colby's jaw. Fifth, and the fight with Woodley, which he completely dominated. His last loss was in 2013 to Jose Serreras in CFA, and that was via submission. Since then, he went on a 16-fight winning streak, as I mentioned, and he's going to be fighting world-class Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu athlete, a three-time world champion, a World Cup gold medalist in Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns is also on a big fight, on a huge fight winning streak. He won his last six fights. His last loss was to Dan Hooker, which was at lightweight. So he moved up in division, and he's been very successful so far. How do I see this fight going? I think Kamaru Usman. I feel like Kamaru Usman is going to take it. I feel like I don't think. I don't think Gilbert Burns is going to be able to submit him, and I feel like that's his only way to a victory. I don't think he's going to be able to knock out Usman. So I'm going to go with Kamaru Usman, the champion.
Do you think it's going to be easy for Usman? or do you think
I
it's
don't
going to be
think
a competitive fight?
I think it's gonna go to decision. I don't know. I don't know how Usman is gonna decide to fight this fight. Is he gonna try to stand with him the whole time? Is he gonna try to take him down to the floor? I don't know. It's as I said, they know who the better fighter is. They've trained with each other a bunch of times. So I guess we're gonna find that out on Saturday night.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm excited for this one. I think I'm leaning towards Usman as well, even though I wouldn't be surprised if Gilbert Burns gets it done. I mean, the guy's been he's been looking phenomenal as of late. He's super explosive. He does have that knockout power, and we've definitely seen Kamaru Usman has that knockout power. I mean, he shattered Kobe's jaw in the middle of the fight. I mean, both guys have crazy power. I do think that there will be a grappling match. Usman does like to take the fight to the edge of the cage and kind of keep you on there to impose his ground and pound. Gilbert Burns, I feel like would be a tough opponent to do that with, just because of, like you mentioned, his jujitsu, his familiarity on the ground. I think will give Burns a bit more confidence that some of Usman's last opponents didn't have, and may present an opportunity for a submission possibly. I do agree. I don't think he can knock out Usman, but again, I would not be surprised if that did happen, just because of how explosive and how strong he is.
I think what my prediction is. I think that Kamaru Usman is gonna try to keep this fight standing, and I feel like he has wrestling pedigree to defend any takedown that Gilbert Burns throws at him. So I believe that if this fight remains standing, I feel like Kamaru Usman has the edge. Gilbert Burns lost to Dan Hooker. Like, I know that's a different weight class, and I got shitted on social media for saying this, but a loss is a loss, And he lost to Dan Hooker, and Kamaru Usman is no Dan Hooker. He's on a different level. So we'll see what
Yeah, but
happens.
that was also a while ago, and we've seen like Gilbert Burns has definitely gotten miles better since that Hooker fight. I mean,
I
just
agree.
overall everywhere.
I agree that he did, but how much better can you get if you're fighting Kamaru Usman, the best welterweight in the world?
We're about to find out. Yeah, like you said, man. When, the guys in the locker room know who's better. I think the fans around the world are finally going to see who's better for this fight. I'm excited, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Usman, as I said. Let's go, Nigerian Nightmare.
So the co-main event for that fight card is going to be Macy Barber versus Alexa Grasso. Macy Barber is making a return after her first loss. She lost to Roxanne Modafferi via decision. It was a fight that she was a huge, huge favorite. I believe 4-1 or 5-1 favorite. But she tore something in her knee. I believe it was her MCL or ACL. And, her leg was just jacked and she couldn't really do anything for that fight. Roxanne kind of was able to just do whatever the hell she wanted with Macy. So this is the first time we're going to see Macy back since. So the big question is, does she still have it? Her loss wasn't a loss that she necessarily, got outsmarted in or outperformed in. It kind of just ended up being a result of an injury. So the question is, does Macy Barber still have it at this point? Alexa
I think she
Grasso,
does. I
yeah,
think she
Alexa
does.
Grasso is another really tough Mexican girl. I mean, her boxing background, she's a good striker, but I feel like Macy Barber, she has the more powerful and more technical striking abilities. She comes from a karate background. I just feel like the power, the technique is on Macy Barber's side. So I see Macy Barber potentially finishing this fight.
I think you hit on the nail. I'm excited to see Macy Barber back in the octagon, and I think she's gonna get the job done and get the hype back to where it was prior to her loss.
So moving on, we have Kelvin Gastelum versus Ian Heinisch at middleweight. This is another interesting matchup. Kelvin Gastelum hasn't been looking too great. He's 2-4 in his last 6 fights. Not as impressive as the rest of his resume. If you look earlier on in his career, um, Ian Heinisch, I feel like both of these guys are super, super powerful strikers. Boxer and kickboxer, middleweight, both guys, have tremendous power. And I feel like we should be all as fight fans expecting a power striking match. I feel like there's going to be a lot of biting down in the mouthpiece and swinging, and whoever can hit the target first, I think, is going to win this fight.
I agree. So with Kevin Gastelum, his last 5 fights, he's actually on a 3-fight losing streak. So he lost to Jack Hermanson via submission. He lost to Darren Till via split decision. He lost to Israel Adesanya via decision, and he won 2 fights prior to that to Souza and Bisping. So yeah, he's on a skid as of late, but he's fighting he's fighting Ian Heish, who's not really. He's a good fighter, but he's not really anything that Gastelum hasn't seen before. So it's going to be an exciting matchup. But one thing that I actually recently read up on Ian Heish is as a kid, he was dealing with like an addiction. He was addicted to ecstasy. He was selling ecstasy. He was apparently diagnosed with ADHD, which I didn't know about that. So I thought that was pretty cool. And he was able to overcome all that and become a UFC fighter and fighting the top dogs in the division now.
Yeah, it's great to see that he got himself together. I mean, look, he's a promising prospect in the middleweight division. He's still young in his career, got a long way to go, and I think this match against Kelvin Gastelum is gonna, be a nice big test for him.
And plus, he has one big advantage in this fight. You know what it is?
What's that?
He's coming off a win to Gerald Meerschaert.
I noticed that actually.
So you know how good Gerald Meerschaert is, bro. Come on.
Beast. Come on, what are you talking about? Dark horse of the division.
He's a beast. You saw what he was saying to Hamzat. He said, I'm not gonna be like your other fighters. And we saw what happened. He's a very, very respectable fighter.
Yeah, man. But for this fight, I don't like Kelvin Gastelum as a person, so I don't want to root for him.
Tell the fans the story. Go.
All right, so I've bumped into Kelvin Gastelum in the city coincidentally a couple different occasions, and every single time it's just been not a positive interaction. The guy does not look like he appreciates his fan, and he's just a dick. I don't like the guy. I mean, I don't like him. I mean, when a fan comes up to you, you can at least say hi. He kind of, I don't know. This happened more than once, and I just kind of don't like rooting for Kelvin Gastelum anymore. He's lost a fan of me. And
plus, Chris Weidman beat him, so.
Yeah, I mean, how do you lose to Chris Weidman, man?
Why do you have to go there? Why'd you have to say that?
All right, so moving on with the card. Pedro Munoz is taking on Jimmy Rivera. This one's actually another exciting matchup. I'm actually excited for this one. What's your thoughts on this, John?
Yeah, it's an exciting matchup. It's a bunch of exciting matchups on this card. We also have Jim Miller versus Bobby Green. We have Bilal Muhammad versus Diego, what's his name? Diego Lima. So it's going to be a stacked card, and I'm excited.
Yeah, like you said, man, a lot of very, very interesting matchups this weekend. Saturday, February 13th, the pay-per-view is at 10 p.m. Eastern. You guys are going to want to tune into this one. This is going to be an exciting one.
All right, so to wrap things off, my co-host Eric wanted to discuss the matchup between Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal. The fight to make in the UFC right now. So let me hear your thoughts on this. Why do you think this fight is the fight to make right now?
Yeah, so you and I were just preparing some topics to talk about this week, and kind of dawned on me, why the hell isn't Colby and Masvidal being matched up? I mean, the two guys hate each other. They used to fight in the same gym, so they have a personal beef there. They're in the same weight division, and they're both coming off a loss to the champ. Both want to make it back up, and I think them fighting each other, the winner could put themselves right back into title contention. Why doesn't this fight get made? I feel like both guys hate each other enough to want to fight. I feel like for the fans, from the UFC's and Dana's perspective, it's a huge, if they were to make that pay-per-view, it'd be a huge revenue stream. I mean, I feel like it's the perfect recipe for a huge fight, and I'm actually surprised that it's so quiet. Neither fighter really seems to have another fight in the works. I'm almost wondering if that's low key being done and just waiting to be announced. But I feel like that's the perfect matchup to make. And I just don't understand why it hasn't been made yet.
Yeah, the thing is that Colby Covington is coming off a win. He actually won Woodley after his loss to Usman.
That's right.
Masvidal is coming off a loss to Usman, but he lost to Usman via decision where Colby Covington got finished in the 5th round, you said, right?
Yep.
So, but prior to that, Masvidal was on a tear. He defeated Nate Diaz. He had that viral knockout over Ben Askren. He defeated Darren Till. And his last loss prior to that was to Stephen Thompson. And with Colby Covington, we know who Colby Covington is. He lost to Kamaru Usman, which was a fantastic fight. Great performance on his end. Didn't really go his way, but I feel like if they were to match up 5-6 times, I feel like Colby Covington could win a few of those. But yeah, he has some impressive wins himself. He won the fight with Lawler. He beat RDA. He beat Maya. So he's right up there. And I agree with you. I believe that this is the fight to make. and the fight that's going to generate the most money in the UFC in that division as of right now. Not two of the biggest names in the sport, but they're in the category. You know, I would say Conor McGregor is above them, but then Conor McGregor, Khabib, and then I would say Colby Covington and Masvidal fall right there. Maybe Israel Adesanya.
Yeah, for sure. How do you see the fight going though? Who do you think would win?
I'm gonna go with Colby Covington. I think that you're gonna go with the same, no?
I feel like stylistically Colby's favored. We've seen how Usman was able to outgrapple Masvidal, and I feel like a very similar style is going to be played out by Colby. And on top of that, Colby's pace I feel like is going to be tough for Masvidal to kind of get his pace started. Masvidal seems to do well when his confidence is up, when he's feeding on the energy, kind of has all that hype. But if Colby's constantly throwing punches in your face, it's hard for you to get that ball rolling and to keep it rolling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to catch Colby Covington as he did with Till or Askren. Colby Covington is as much people hate him, he's a phenomenal fighter. And as you said, he has an insane pace. His cardio is outstanding, and I feel like that's something that Masvidal lacks, and his cardio isn't the best, and he's not really a great wrestler. So I feel like Colby's going to have the advantage in that department as well. Masvidal he came up fighting on the streets. He's a brawler. He's a tough guy, but he's not really. I don't think he's a world-class athlete in the same level as Colby Covington, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Hey, you're not wrong, man. Like I said, I agree. I think Colby is probably going to get his hand raised. But I guess we have to see it to believe it, right?
Yeah. So we're just talking about hypothetical. This matchup is not set, but it'll be. We both believe it will be a great matchup for the UFC to make. So let's see if it happens.
Yeah. So guys, thank you as always for joining us. This was round 14. As always, please follow us on social media and engage with us. We are Inside the Clinch MMA on Instagram, ITC MMA Podcast on Twitter, and on Facebook and YouTube, we are Inside the Clinch MMA Podcast. Thank you guys and see you next week.